Welcome, Dr. Lee, and all the lectures here. And also, I can see some new names here. Welcome you all here because I cannot mention one by one. And actually, in the event of Dr. Lee, we open for the public. So really hope with this event we can get the silaturahmi, and then we can share a discussion about the issue of the revitalizations. My name is Kusuma Ningtyah Nurul Handayani. I'm from the URD Labo, Department of Architecture UNS. Dr. Lee and I already have a long cooperation and collaboration. Start last semester, we have 3 times guest lectures, and also we teach in UTM. So this cooperation should be maintained because one of the reason is try to engage more collaborative international cooperation, and this is one of the UNS goal because as we know, our university has been acknowledged as one of PTNBH by this year's, Dr. Lee. So the transformation.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. The transformation status from 11 Maret University as a public service agency to a legal identity PTN or PTNBH must be followed by the preparation of strategic world-class university. And one of the event is such as kind like these things. And thank you for the employer reputations that we just sent to Dr. Lee, and Dr. Lee submit also to taken a survey of KS rank. It's really helpful for us to become part of one of the process of KS rank. So we honor to have Dr. Lee here once more time. In the actually is a part of the class of urban design in Department of Architectures, and we really hope you can give detailed information or sharing your experience based off the cultural mapping, because I think this process is very important for us as a urban design to start or to gain a lot of information that related to what we will design, particularly in the heritage case area, because also we know that the heritage issue is some sensitive issue, and then it's not really looking for everybody to see how the local wisdom is coming from the heritage issue. So therefore, we would like to know more here, Dr. Lee. So
All
have
right.
a place to start it, Dr. Lee. I will stop share my PPT.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ruli, and thank you to all those lecturers and the students who spent your time this morning to join the sessions. I think first of all, I would like to say gratitude, thank you to UNS and to Dr. Ruli, who arranged and invited me to deliver sharing sessions on the topic on cultural mapping. So I think without further ado, I will share my slide here to start the lecture here to share. My voice is not clear. I will try to increase my volume first. Okay. All right. So last 2 or 3 weeks that we have discussions with Dr. Ruli, and she told me about that the subject and the studio project will more focus on the revitalizations. And so what we have discussed is that students are going to prepare themselves, which you are now right now, you have to prepare for your site inventory analysis. So I think about the how to interrelate the cultural mapping to target for a place identity revitalizations. All right. So these photos I took it from her website is photos of at lesson. So I hope you are familiar with the scene here. Okay. All right. Let's start with the first the content. Okay. Craft the content is also a process. At least you have the idea of how to begin with this IAS, yeah, site inventory analysis and synthesis. So a process to map of the a place identity. So right now your site is at the Lawson, or maybe you have other site. So I will put it as a general first, yeah. So basically, what from my experience, I think most of what we have to start with learning a new thing, we should understand from the vocabularies. Yeah. So the first stage of literature review is important. Yeah. So for the student, at least you start with the reading, the basic understanding. Well, what is the conceptual of let's say a place identity or revitalizations? All right. Through this understanding of literature review, so you begin to develop or think about what are the important attribute or in the indicator which you can use to characterize or any related attributes that can related to place identity or revitalization. How to do it, what to do with it, and when to do it. So you will might need to have a few questions to ask yourself. All these questions you will find the answer you will find through a literature review. This is an on theoretical part. Yeah. So once you have done on the literature review and you prepare for your site inventory, which means the secondary data, so you need to identify, okay, if I plan to investigate these aspects or attributes related to place identity, so I have to think about the method. That's why here I highlighted the method of collecting cultural and natural heritage. Because when we talk about heritage, is comprised cultural and natural, yeah. So this is a norm. It is stated in the UNESCO, yeah. So when we talk about these, to collect cultural and natural heritage uh, aspects of a historic town or cities of a place, so one of the method here I share today is a cultural mapping. I believe you have more than others method, yeah. So later I will share after this the process of culture mapping. So after this the planning on what to do, so and how to collect the data. Uh, I believe that once you have the data, the information that you have collected from the site, from a city or the town like Lawson, so you move to the next stage with is the evaluation and assessment. So we call it as an analysis stage. Normally for these design students like architectures or urban design, urban planning, or eventually a landscape students, they will normally come out with a SWOT analysis. For me, I think SWOT analysis is simple and yet it's clear for student what to do next, right? So from what the analysis information you get, you will go to the last part, which is to suggest. So from this suggestion, it will help you to in design. So how to design or to revitalize or to bring back the identity to a place, a historical town especially, yeah. So this is basically the process that I think to let you know, I believe that some part of it you are clear, yes. I just want to highlight the process of culture mapping of place identity. All right, I will move to the next slide. Okay. One sec. Okay, so as I said just now, basically we will always start with the questions or the concept on the theory. So I would like to share with you first on the theory of a place identity. Yeah, I think place identity is not a new word. Everyone familiar with it, but how about the component or the content that characterize identity? Yeah. So I selected few here from the famous scholars who talk about the identity. Like first, Ralph in 1976, and he says that the identity should not look at only the physical aspect, yeah, physical thing, So he said that identity should come from the experiential people activities. So in his idea, the identity is formed through human activities, which with the meanings, with the purpose, as well as with the physical components. So this is how Rev come up with his own idea. Okay, by looking at this theoretical aspects, other scholars like Panther and also Montgomery, and he said that identity we also need to look at in other perspective. But one thing interesting that if you found that through these three diagrams, you will see that the component, I call it component of this identity is quite similar. So let's us look at these other two more diagram here. So from Punter, he said that identity is formed which close related to sense of place. So how people familiar with the place itself. So the three component here that he relate into to form to identity or the sense of place is a physical setting, meanings and activities. So you can see that it's also similar to ref conception, yeah, to look at what is identity. But for Montgomery's, in his findings, when he talked about identity is a image of a place. So it's quite similar to Lynch idea, yeah. So he said that the identity is a combination of the perception, how people think about place. So in a simple words, that's why he come out with the words of image. It's quite similar to Lynch idea, yeah. So where if you look at the more detail, how perception, how people think about a place is through memory, the image, what people see, and how people experience through their sensories. So I think this is a very important point that also derived from Ref and also Panther, the meanings, or they use in other words like a symbol, yeah. So what I want to summarize here, the scholars have uh, quite similars on looking at the component of identity. So what I want to highlight for this part is when the student to begin to think about what to investigate, yeah, at the site. If you talk about that issue is a lot, let's say diminishing of identity, so you should look at the three aspect here, yeah, the activities, the physical part, and also the meaning of the place. All right. Okay. So I will move to another I think of a famous scholars by Lynch, as he said that the identity of a place is a variant or invariant component people and urban events. He said that the identity is an image of the place, yeah, as quite similar from Montgomery just now. And he said that the identity concept should reflect to extend a place be distinct of having vivid of unique character from other place, which means that when he talk Lynch, when he highlight that uh, uh, the identity of the place should be related how unique is the place, yeah. So for this part, it's a clue for you to investigate how to investigate the uniqueness of the a place. All right. So as a result here, what I want to summarize is for identity to study on identity of the place identity, not to look at the physical parts here, but the behavioral patterns is very important. As I said just now, people memory, people experiences, and also how people behavior respond to the environment, which respond to the old town, to the old city. Yeah. So this is important to investigate. Without the complete physical human behavior and the place meaning, I think it's not enough for you to argue what is to how to investigate on place identity. All right. So I did reading one book about the urban design, how to investigate on the place identity. And it is good to hear to summarize that when we look at the identity itself, we should also extend more, yeah, to look at what is the potential of the identity itself, and then what is the problem of the identity, and also uh, how to identify the identity qualities. Yeah, all these important notes here is implies to late investigation. So later, I will show you more some of the example how to map on doing true cultural mapping. Yeah. So this is only one example. Yeah. All right. Okay. Um, I will start here with one of the example here, the perceptual survey. I believe the physical part is quite familiar for you, so I will start with this. For instance, an example, in the urban studio, if you go through the responsive environment, the 7 qualities by Bentley, he did mentions that the 7 qualities that will help the people to look at how the behavior or behavioral or the perceptions, yeah, or how people respond to the urban space, yeah. So you can start with those with a simple a table to list out what to investigate. So through this table, you will find that here to investigate on people sensory. So through smell, taste, sound, touch, and visual. So this is how to look at. You can place with the location and then you write it in manually. So this basically is more on what you observe and then you write it down and analyze later. Besides to look at the behavioral studies, observation here is also important. Yeah, the physical aspects such as the construction element, natural element, let's say, or vehicle or transport, also is important to be observed here. This is the only example. So you can change all these aspects or the component later, depend on what are the indicator you are going to look at. All right. Okay. Another one is on the questionnaire. I believe for the undergraduate students, it's good for you to start on the to structurize that the survey, yeah, beside observation, field visits, and also behavioral studies. Let's look at the questionnaires. So you can come up with a simple questions to ask the, especially a community or the respondents or the people who live at the historical town or a city. So for instance, that the questions should come, the question that you're going to set should relate it to a place identity. So for instance, you can ask that, what are the elements that cause to the strong sensations? Yeah. If you can change something, what would it be? So this is just a example, yeah. So you can develop the questionnaire so that it will help you, because beside your own observation, to avoid the bias, yeah, it's important when to conduct a site inventory analysis to get the response or the feedback where the local, they already have they live at this place, yeah, for a long time, so they understand the place more. This is what we call the meanings of the place. Yeah, the meaning of the place for visitors, for the tourists, is different from the local people. That is how important that this question air, or maybe you can set in the interview format to investigate on this part. Yeah. All right. Okay. I will just show you one example here. The mapping of the place identity. This is not this is a digital mapping. Later I will talk more on the manual part. So I found that in this book, it mentioned that they use a software called a placemaker. I think maybe you can explore after this. Is what you obtain, what you have collected from interview, observation, or field visit, so you can put it on the map. Yeah, so to know that where is the location or where is happen. Yeah, So these lens are the indicators to answer what is identity. Of course, it's not the end part. It's just the beginning for you to synthesize the data, and the next step or next stage you are going to do a design. Yeah, to look at which part is a potential, which part is a constraints, or which part is a strength for the place itself. All right. Okay. I will move to the next. Back to our the main topic today. So I have introduced you how's this to study on the theoretical part of place identity. So I will bring you to the second part. What is a cultural mapping? Basically, what I'm going to explain here, the cultural mapping technique or the process will be conducted manually. Yeah. All right. So cultural mapping is not a new subject. It is established, is recognized by UNESCO, which is a tool for preserving the tangible and intangible asset or properties. Yeah. So if you go through the UNESCO website, you will find that in UNESCO Bangkok itself, they have written also a handbook, yeah, this one, on the cultural mapping. You can just Google and browse to, they have like some free version of the handbook of culture mapping from different countries, yeah, and examples. So basically, cultural mapping is to identify, record, classifying, and analyze the community cultural resources or the cultural assets. So when we talk about this, is something similar to what we have done from our experience through site inventory analysis, to record, to identify, to classifying. But for culture mapping, is much more focused on the community cultural resources. So later we will see what are these cultural resources. Yeah. So the cultural resources is also important here. Besides looking at the cultural aspect, the others elements such as the historical, economic, social, and geographic significance of the site is important also to look at in the aspect, yeah, to be recorded, yeah, during the site inventory analysis. So when we talk about the cultural mapping, how the data can be presented, yeah. So it's not only the data from maps like graph, but we also can refer to like aerial photos, maybe some of the products like statistic data, yeah. So which means when we found that the cultural mapping itself can be conducted at have to be conducted at on-site with engaging with community, as well as to look at the secondary information, yeah, as what I have listed here. So which means that we have to prepare ourselves before go to the site. If not, I don't think we can manage to interview with the community or to engage with the community. All right. So talk about cultural mapping. Cultures is a big word, yeah. It represents of cultural assets, yeah. Is a variety. So I took this image is just to let you visualize how big is the scope of cultures itself, yeah. So cultural resources also comprise of cultural heritage, the site itself, the intangible part, the community organizations, the natural heritage, the festival, and creative cultures. Yeah. So you can see these mind map have varieties of the component and subcomponent of cultural resources. So when you look at all these, doesn't mean that you have to collect everything. Back to our site inventories, the purpose, yeah. So you have to justify first of all what to collect. So later you will decide from that, and then you will know what to do at the site, right? Okay, this is just to let you see what comprise of cultural resources here. Okay, I will move to next. Sorry, okay. So by introducing the cultural mapping, The cultural mapping is not only to look at the recording on the cultural aspect with community and in urban planning. Cultural mapping also is used for the historical assessment, explore on cultural identity, as well as a place identity. Yeah. So this is a normal that we use to study on cultural mapping. Yeah. So community resources, yes, because cultural mapping is very close related to community. Yeah. Cultural planning as well as planning for sustainable development. All right. So when we talk about the cultural mapping itself, the theme we can divide it to several, but I won't go through, which means that in our area, in our studies, we will more focus on maybe sociology and also anthropological, yeah? Okay, here on the right side, to select what to map. Okay, here back to the output that what we expect to do a mapping, yeah, recording, yeah. So here there are several. So we can look at the mapping of asset, like what I say, the tangible, intangible cultural items, a mapping of resources, which means that not only look at, we can also expand, yeah, the boundary, like mapping organizations. For example, to map how the let's say the economic or social economic of the background of local people, yeah. And the third is the mapping of the concept, like what I highlight today. Let's say we choose on the identity, so this also can be mapped, yeah. And the last part is on the system, the process. I think this process is quite similar like last sem, yeah. You can map also how the process of batik making from the raw materials until the end of the product, the batik ready, yeah. So you can see that is quite variety, yeah. It is depend how we're going to decide what to do, yeah. All right. From the introductions, I will next to share with you more on the 3 steps, the cultural mapping methodology. So basically, is for me is simple. You just have to know that framing of mapping exercise, what to map. The second stage is the process, the method, and the third one is to analyze. So only 3 steps for the cultural mapping. Okay, back to the first one, what to map. So I have listed here the tangible and intangible element. You can list out what are the important tangible and intangible element that you are going to map. All right. So the next, the data collection, later I will elaborate more on the next slide. So for the assessment parts, you have to determine the site, community, and cultural vitality. So you have to ask yourself before you conduct this cultural mapping, what is the purpose of mapping, yeah, and what to analyze. So normally when we talk about analysis, we will look at the interconnection between people, place, and environment. So I think these 3 aspects is important to look at, because why, to design a place for to revitalize, let's say revitalizations of a place identity, people, place, environment, or the setting is important, yeah, like what I explained in the theoretical part. So you have to clear with this. All right. Okay, let's move to the first part, your preparations, what to map, yeah. So basically this flow chart is just an example, yeah. So as I said just now, you can start to come up with a briefing. Okay, what the data that I want, who going to use the data, how will the data to use, and when is the data to be used. Set on this target first, yeah, on aims or objective. All right. So when you do your inspections or site visit, to understand a site profile is important, yeah, which means, as I said just now, please prepare yourself with a secondary data first before you go to the site, at least the basic understanding of the site background, the site history, like land use, the existing built environments. Yeah. So because if you've done all these preparations, if no point for you to just straight away to the site, yeah, at least you understand first. Okay, the third point is who to engage. All right. So between you think about what to do, uh, why you need to do this cultural mapping, and the third one is who going to engage. So I believe that students have to aware that, okay, are you going to talk to the community? Are you going to talk to the someone who, let's say, ketua kampung, yeah, let's say, yeah. So please make clear with, because when you talk with each of the stakeholder or the municipal council, you will have you will need to prepare for different questions, right? Yeah, I believe yes. So make sure you clear that how you're going to engage and what to prepare before you engage with the stakeholders. All right. So after you set all these with the clear goal and objective, and then others is like the time, the cost, the approach. Yeah, like what I said just now. Are you plan to go to the site in one day? If yes, maybe you can draft with the timeline. So what to do from the first session and second sessions. Yeah. Also, all of this is a preliminary. In the beginning, you have to plan first before to the site. Yeah. All right. Once you go to the site, this is a process of mapping. In a simple word, we call it as a data collection stage, which means you're already at the site. So when you're at the site, the collections of the data, as I say, you can use a variety of method. You can start with the interview, you can start with the observations, you can start with the questionnaire, or you can do also a focus group discussions. Yeah, so you have to plan. All right. So the data collections can be in the form of visual data, like pictures. Maybe some of the student you will found that, okay, maybe you found that not easy to get the old photograph from the main source like internet or books, or you can go to some places, let's say in Lawson, maybe they have the local museum, so you can find some old pictures, yeah, which can help you to understand more about the place. All right. Okay. Once you have ready with the data records to collect all the informations, the next stage you will need to do is to synthesize the data. So for cultural mapping, it is not too complicated. Yeah, you can come up with two outcome of the findings. Either you plot on the map like what you did normally on the inventory analysis mapping, or you can come out with the system approach. Yeah. For the layering approach, you can come out using not only the normal synthesis plan, but you can use like GIS to synthesize the map as well. Yeah, because I believe GIS is you can analyze both qualitative and quantitative data. Okay. An interesting part for cultural mapping, you can come out also with the system approach. So what is a system approach? System approach is a form of flowchart. So just now I give you an example, right? If you want to investigate at Lawson, how the batik socio-economic, how is conducted. So at the end of the finding, you can come out with the flowchart. Yeah, how it's begin from the collecting of raw material, the process of making, and until the maybe how the batik distribute to the sellers. So this process can become in the flowchart. So we call it as a system approach. Yeah, more on the process of phenomena. Yeah, all right. So this is the second stage of cultural mapping. This is just a visualize, yeah. As I said just now, you can do it in the mapping layerings, yeah, with each topic. All right. Or you can use the GIS or ArcGIS, yeah, to analyze the data. Okay, so this is the last stage of cultural mapping. We call it at the evaluation of this, how to do evaluations. So for this section or for these parts, you can see on the left here, you have to remember, yeah, if your site is on the historical or heritage site, you need to always ask yourself, what is the reason for you to access to look at the site? Is it because of the cultural or the heritage significance? Look at the historical value, economic value, or spiritual value, and so on. All right. And I did mention also, the simplest way for you to conclude the findings is to SWOT analysis here. To the SWOT analysis, so you can finalize that what are the strengths of the site itself, the weakness, opportunity, and also the threats here. All right. Okay, so I will give you an example here, a cultural mapping here at the Georgetown World Heritage Site. Okay, Georgetown is nominated as a World Heritage Site on 2008, the same as Malacca. So what unique about the heritage site is because the influence of the Asian and the Europe, the Asian and the Europe, the colonials, that they bring the multicultural tradings to this Georgetown. All right. So look at the map here. There is a core zone and also the buffer zone of the Georgetown. All right. Okay, I will. This is just an introduction for you to view that the Georgetown. So basically, the Georgetown tangible and intangible heritage is composed of these multicultural ethnics influences. Yeah. All right. Okay, sorry. Let me back to the slide. Okay, I will start with one example. As I said, you have to target what to map. Okay, I will start with the mapping of a historical significance of the site. So when we talk about to mapping this, what are the material or what we have to plan? So first of all, when we talk about historical significance, it can be more tangible or intangible. So it will start with the historical of the community itself. So the historical information, you can get it or you can compile or record it from the books or any related document, yeah, or archive. So to simplify for your understanding, you can put it in a table format. So you know what are the reference, where is the reference from, and what are the important notes. All right. Before to record the historical background of the community itself, the next is to look at the historical of the land use. So when we talk about the Georgetown itself, the development or the evolutionary of the Georgetown from the port cities to become a heritage site here. So how it transforms, how the land use change. So all this you have to refer to the old maps or the land use map. All right. Okay. Next, when we talk about historical significance, we also look at is another small tangible aspect, which is the old building. So here, the map on the right bottom, you can see that the old street here, where or the types of the building, the historical building and the style. So from this, I believe that you can start with collect through the secondary information. If you have any record from the local municipal council reports, or else you need to be at the site to do an observation. So it's depend how much information that you can get before you go to the site. So to look at this, the timeline study is also important. As I said, once you have the land use map, then you will know that how this town itself, the Georgetown itself, they developed. So what is the changes? Before the marketplace built, so what is the existing of this place? Yeah. So basically, it's more on the background of the site itself, yeah, to emphasize the characteristic of Georgetown, yeah. So this is one of the example. When you collect the informations, the pictorials, the image is the pictures, especially the old pictures and the currents of the pictures is important. So talk about back to about cultural mapping. To map, yeah, how to shows these the the changes, the location of the site itself. So you have to come out with this I think as simple as this, yeah, with the indication of the location of the building, significant old building like marketplace, and where is it. All right. um at the end, you can put all these informations like to trace the type of the old building style of architectures. You can put in the table format. Yeah. So always make the work to simplify it. Yeah. Not to just collect the lots of information, but you don't know how to simplify it and record it. So in the table format is for you to make you easy to understand. All right. Okay. So from this information, is back in one, you have done the process of data collection, yeah, to study on the historical significance of the site. So to the next stage is to evaluate, to analyze what is the finding that you want to get the answer from all these informations. So what I understand from this finding is that it shows that how's this all architectures building, how is influenced. So you can conclude that the influence of the community and land use and the historical building of Georgetown is influenced by the Western and the Eastern cultures. So this is the simple conclusion that you can make. But if you notice, the process of this culture mapping is to evidence, yeah, to support how of this process occur. Yeah, this is one of the reason, the simplest ways to imply the idea, to collect and evidence what happened in the past. Yeah. All right. I will give you another example, more on the intangible. So just now I mentioned, right, when we talk about identity of the place, the significance of the place, not to forget about people perception, yeah, or human behavioral. So here the example is on the how to record a commercial activities and the memories related to the community. So this is one of the street here in the Georgetown. So you can see that a simple map. It's good that when you do conduct a cultural mapping, try to get a skill that we can see more clear or more macro scale, yeah, of showing the streets and the building. Yeah. So just now we talked about the commercial activities, right? So you can divide it, the legends type of the commercial activities that happen. Yeah. So how the community they conduct their way of life, yeah, through commercial activities. Yeah. So this is a simple map. So next is to recording the activities. So from the street itself, you can zoom in more to the macro scale. Let's say you target for the wet market. So you can go to visit the wet market and do it the recording in more detail. What happened inside the wet market? How the commercial or the store market trading activities happens. Yeah. All right. So as I said just now, through the observations, through the interview, yeah, through your field visit, you will come out with all these kind of the process, yeah. So you can trace how the trading, the roots of the customer itself, the formal and informal commercial that happen. The commercial that we mentioned here, the formal maybe happen at inside the shop houses or inside the shops, but the informal will happen maybe along the streets, yeah, where there's the community also, they have this their own livelihood, yeah, with all these selling merchandise activities. So through the photograph records observations, which means you yourself, you have to spend time. If you know that the activities will happen in the morning, so you need to station at some parts of the places and through observations. Of course, interview also is optional for you to understand more how the community livelihood, yeah, that depend on these informal merchandise activities, yeah, or commercial activities. All right. So beside that, we look at we talk about the type of commercial activities. You can detail up also the type of activities that are based by referring of each categories of community. Let's say for the Chinese food outlets and for the Muslim food outlets, where it's located. Yeah. If necessary for your investigation, yes, you can put it in one of your map. All right. Okay, so the last parts, we also, you can look at also the religious activities that happen to the streets, which means that this commercial street is not just functions for the commercial formal and informal activities, but in some occasion it's also utilized for religious activities. Yeah, so you can see the robustness of the activities happen. Community activities happen to these streets. All right. Okay. Back to the final part. Once you have completed the synthesis, once you have completed to collect of the data through a cultural mapping, so you can synthesize the last part. So the synthesize here, as I show you just one of the example, you can overlay all the informations through the commercial activities and also religious activities, and based on the ethnicity, this is the final product. So through this final product and the findings, you can identify that which area is the most important part of the street to be conserved or to be preserved based on your own findings. Yeah. If you ask me for the legends, this legend is depend on your own creativity. So you can decide what what symbol that you're going to use. Yeah. All right. So the last part that I'm going to share, beside the social economic activities, as I said just now, for cultural mapping, you can come up with the last product, the final product of showing on the map and also on the system. Yeah. So this one I want to show is on the cultural and economic activities. So the example here, the entire or the overall activities of the coffee shops or the restaurant happen at the Georgetown, and you can see the distribution of the street hawker centers that happen in the Georgetowns. All right. Okay. Sorry. Sorry. I have a problem with my mouse. Let me back to the screen. Okay.
It's okay.
As I said just now, yeah, sorry. As I said just now, beside map, we can come out with also the process, yeah, the flow chart. So from the economic activities, we can come out with, okay, where is the main source, how the economic distribution, yeah, and the product. So this you can map it on the flow chart or in the diagram. We call it as a uh, layer, system mapping, yeah, in the form to see how the phenomena happen, how the economic activity happen. All right. So at the end, to conclude to conclude for one aspect of your inventories, the sort analysis is important here to wrap up what is the findings. Let's say for the community tradings, how is the network and what are the social or religious activities happens. So you can make it in the table form for SWOT analysis. I believe you are familiar with this, all right? So I think that's all from my parts. I would like to conclude is that cultural mapping here, cultural mapping is a approach, make it simple, yeah. It's an approach of recording and revealing the cultural resources or the asset, yeah, of one place. So when we look at this, cultural mapping is not only to provide information that you want in the form of map, in the form of system, like a flow chart, also you can come out with it. So to make it clear, cultural mapping, one thing is that is very close to the community. So the information that you get it from uh, data collections is not only from the second data, but the main primary data you have to go through with the local community, which through interview or questionnaire, or maybe you can do a focus group discussions. All right. I do hope this presentation or the sharing session can help you. At least you clear with it what to do next for your site inventory and analysis. All right. Thank you, Dr. Ruli. I will back to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lee. It is a nice presentation. But before I'm going to the public, going to the audience for the question and answer time, I would like to share something. I just forgot to share your curriculum vitae. Now on, Dr.
Oh,
Lee okay, is as a senior lecturer in University of Technology Malaysia, and she became postgraduate coordinator landscape architecture research program and final year project coordinator, and yeah, as a vice president of EVLA World Student Design Competition, yeah, 2002 until 2021, and also
yeah.
head of the Heritage Landscape Research Group, HELA. Is it
Yeah, but
still
this one,
no?
because this is ended on 2019, but now
Oh,
I'm in another research group. Yeah. Thank you
another
for that.
research group. So what is your name research group, Dr. Lee?
Okay,
Now,
urban design and environmental research group. Urban
okay,
design and environmental.
urban design and environmental. That's why we have a
Yeah.
collaboration with URDC Labo, Urban Rural Design and Conservation. Actually,
Yeah.
we built the when I started the laboratory of URDC Labo is really inspiring from the Prof. Zainal Abidin Ayas from UTM.
So, yeah. Hmm.
Ayas said is
So I did.
Ayas said I did is head of the I forgot the lab
Yeah,
names.
urban design lab also, but that lab they have closed due to the prof site retirement.
I
So
see.
now we set up this urban design and environmental lab last year.
Okay, so it's a
Yeah.
changed name, but actually the student
Yeah.
of said also the one who built this lab. Oh, okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did. I'm really inspired with what he has been done before, and also yeah, as a in the poster mentioned that Dr. Lee was a graduate from the urban design a doctoral program in urban design Tokyo University under the Nishimura Sensei Lab and Kubota Sensei Lab. Wow, that's two great professors' names. It's very famous, Nishimura and Kubota Sensei. And yeah, in the master program, Dr. Lee graduated from the University Technology Malaysia on January 2012. And also with the BA Hons and got the diploma in architecture Polytechnic Sultan Haji Ahmad Shah Kuantan Pahang. It's a difference
Yeah.
area, yeah, Dr. Lee, Pahang
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Pahang.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have quite different background from architecture to landscape to urban design.
Okay. But you still in the similar process, yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's
Exactly.
the curriculum fit of Italy. That's no wonders that you have many experience in the process of the cultural mapping. Okay, before we start the question and answer, I would like to also have a one question for Dr. Lee. As we know, the
Yeah.
cultural mapping is a very basics methods that it should be done before we made the bigger master plan planning. In the case of Malaysia, is it also used for the master plan for that the government made? Is it with the same
Okay.
method? Because yeah, I'm wondering also about
Oh,
the detailed
okay.
participations with the community. If
All right.
it's common for the government in Malaysia to engage the community.
Okay, okay. Thank you for the question. I think it's a very good question. We talk about the skill of using cultural mapping. All right, I give a view first. Normally for cultural mapping, we will use in a small scale, yeah, like a town, not a big scale like a district or region. If you ask me whether the government use, in government state level, they don't use a cultural mapping because when you look at in the state, the urban area, the district is bigger, yeah. Because when you look at the cultural mapping, is more detailed. So basically, in the local municipal council, they will use it. For instance, I give you some example. Yeah, let's say in one town, let's say like Johor Bahru, the Ting City itself, they have conduct a cultural mapping process. Let's say to revitalize a back lane in Johor Bahru. It is more in the small scale, like in the town, not like as big as a district. So if you ask me whether the government conducted this cultural mapping, indirectly they won't do it in the bigger scale like in the state or district, but in the local municipal council, yes. Dr. Rudy, this is my answer. Can you hear me, Dr. Rudy? Can you all hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
All right. Okay, thank you for response. I think Dr. Ruli's network is not, maybe she have to reconnect again. Yeah. So for audience, if you have any question, we can discuss. Don't hesitate. So yeah, to ask. I believe some of these the method in the cultural mapping is not a new method. I believe most of you have used it in the common of doing analysis on the cultural aspects. But just for cultural mapping, we will look at it more macro scale, yeah, compared to micro scale. So just now, Dr. Ruli is asking me, the local government in Malaysia, we won't use it in the big scale. Small scale, yes, like a town studies, yes, but not in the district, yeah, in a big scale. Mm. If you have any questions, you can just post in this chat box so I can reply. Just now, Dr. Ruli told me that she said that the student, some of the student may not have the opportunity to visit the site, right? Some of it, you have the chance to visit the site after the mid-sem breaks. So maybe I can share some tips here for the student who not able to visit the site. Perhaps the secondary information is very important. Yeah. So I think some of the studio master or your lecturers will share with you the data first. Yeah. Before at least the data, the secondary information will help you to understand the site itself. So you can do some analysis based on the site. But what I did in last semester in UTM, we are facing the same problem, which means that the student is not able to go to the site. For me, myself, last semester I conducted a studio, is a community and park design studio. So what we have done for helping the student is we record the aerial view of the site using drone. Okay, so beside I believe the student can easily to look at the Google Map, yeah, but sometimes the Google Map is not clear, right? So what we have done is me myself, we call from a team to do a record of the error view, and through a drone, at least the student can view from the plan how's the site look like, as well as the setting of the site itself. Yeah. Dr. Rudy, I just share with what I have done for my previous studio, where the student cannot access the site. I told them, the audience, that we do a drone recording error view. Yeah, for last
Yeah, yeah,
semester.
that's for the last semester. So the students can
Yep.
get the vision with
Yes.
what happens on. That's
Yeah.
great. I'm
Yes.
really
Yeah,
excited.
Dr. Rudy.
I'm just because I think I have a problem with the electricity. So
Oh,
yeah, I'm back
never
here
mind. This.
again.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes. Yeah, that's become our obstacle now because it is in a COVID situations. It is not really easy for us to access the field site for the survey. And
Yeah.
beside the drone, what kind of the techniques for the UTM student also can be deal or can be adjust? What kind of method, Sensei?
As
I
I said, you mean beside cultural mapping, or beside the option of we have to prepare? I mean, lecturers have to prepare secondary data for the student.
Yeah, it is. What kind
Okay.
of the
Be,
data that you should prepare for the student?
Another thing that I see is important here is like the what you have done this webinar. For last semester, my experience is for my studios is a park design studio. So I have conducted every of the meeting studio 2 or 3 weeks. I will invited the alumni to share on the lecture. Yeah, so I found that when student exposed to these input lectures from the invited guests or from the practicing landscape architect, they will find something new. Yeah. So from that, I can see student they will ask the questions, more practical questions. Though let's say they don't have a chance to visit the site, but maybe they will ask through the speakers. Okay, if I want to do this, what I should. Yeah. So I think from the webinar or from the invited guest speaker is partly also to help the student. At least they can see a different point of view. That is my feedback, yeah, from the final of the studio. I collected the feedback from the student. They say they like this part on the webinar, as well as the engagement with the invited speaker. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you very much, Dr. Lee. So
You're
have
welcome.
a please to the students and all the participants. If you have questions, you can put on the chat or you can raise your hands. Try to engage. Okay, we have Shamil, yeah. Fatin, Shamil, maybe you can speak by yourself. Have a please, Shamil Fatin. Are you there, Shamil?
Yeah, I'm here, Miss.
Have a please.
But my signal is kind of bad, so sorry if you can hear me clearly.
Okay, Shamil, I will read for you.
We can.
Okay.
Okay, so I'd like to ask a question. So in the process
Yes.
of cultural mapping, when we choose, let's say, a historical site, how do we determine how far to the past should we conduct our research into into the history of that community or location? And additionally, I'd also like to ask, how do we filter which historical accounts will be relevant to the mapping results that we will make? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, next
All
question.
right. Thank you. Thank you for the questions, Shamil. All right. Let me answer the process of cultural mapping. How to determine how far the past we can conduct all the research. Yep, for the community and locations. I think I did mention just now, when you want to start with a project of the site, let's look at the topic of your project here. Well, what is your topic for your current project? Can I know so I can help you on this?
I'm currently working on hotel design actually, so it doesn't have much historical content.
It is not historical site.
Yes.
What is the site characters? It is just a normal city or a town?
Normal urban city.
Urban cities. So okay. There is a case, let's say, if you are not looking at the aspect of historicals, but before you start off any site inventories, to understand the site is important, yeah, because at least the basic, yeah, you have to understand how is this town or the city formed. So from there, I think you can start with the urban morphology study first. At least you can control, like, not to study a lot too much that doesn't relate information, but at least you start with how this town form or how this city form. If you have these questions, then you know that what to do. Okay, if I want to know this, how this town is formed, like what you said just now, so I will know that, okay, first thing I will look at the urban morphology. Yeah. So, and you asked about the community. Yes, back to the example that I showed you just now. The current community that you see, what right now that reside on the town or the city itself, maybe some of them is not the original, yeah, maybe from town, some from the outsider. What you can do the studies is like, you have to get the, first of all, to look at the population itself, and if there is any record of the document to say that the population of their background, uh, ethnicity, or the livelihood, so you can check on that. If not, when you go to the site, you have to look at in the detail, which means that you at least have to find out the demographic. So once you understand on the urban morphology, how the town is formed, and the demographic, I think is enough for you to understand the basic background of your site. Okay, can you get what I mean, Shamil?
I understand so far.
Yeah, does my answer help you?
Okay, thank you, Miss.
Okay,
Is it okay,
because
Shamil?
I want to let all the audience know, cultural mapping is not just map on historical or cultural. It can map also on the environmental aspects. For instance, yeah, if your site have pollution, river pollution, for instance, you can do a mapping, the chronology of the river, how it was polluted on environmental aspect. So basically, cultural mapping itself is much more helping on you to record and show the process, what happened. Yeah. Okay, Shamil?
Okay.
Agree with you, Dr. Lee, because it's we can use it in many cases. It's not only for the
Yes, natural resources, as I say, on the ecological part, yes. Yeah, doesn't mean only historical aspects.
It is. And also to gain the local knowledge of kampung kota, that in urban area, it usually use this method. Okay, we have one question from Yasara. Yasara, do you want to speak by yourself? Is it okay? Is it possible? Or we just read for you? Okay, Yasara. Good morning. Yasara, is it okay? Okay, I will read for you, Dr. Lee. Good morning. My
Okay,
name
thank you.
is Sarah from Universitas 11 Maret. I want to ask how to analyze the solution of a design object, which is a historical building, and its function has been given less attention during the current pandemic, whether towards conservation, revitalization, or something else. Sorry, Miss Lee, I cannot write the question in this chat room. Okay, have
Okay.
a
So, all right, thank you, Dr. Ruli. So basically, you want to know that the solution of the design object of a historical building and its function has been less. Okay, all right. I think your question is much implies yeah, to talk what we're facing right now in most of the city, that's the diminishing of the economic activities. When you talk about pandemic that caused to this scenario, it could be a short term, not long term. Yeah, so we cannot assume. So for Yasa, what I suggest to you is like, this is what the scenario you see from your eye. Yeah, you are the architects or urban planner students. Yeah, so try to look at this is your own perspective. Okay, why not when we talk about site inventory analysis, we have to avoid to bias, which means that this is what you predict. Yeah, for me, I see this as a short term but not long term. Maybe the economic will back if everything will back to the normal, right? So my suggestion, if when you do your site inventory analysis, you have to look at the government approach first of all. Any action that will be taken by the government or suggested by the local government or local authority, what is the temporary action they will taken to help on this on economical part? Let's say the activities of, especially for this related to the old building. Secondly, maybe you have to, if you have the chance to interview the local people, you will know that what is the problem or the issue that cause why the activities or the functions of this historical building become diminishing, less and less. Yeah, so you have to find out these two to help you to evidence. In other words, means we cannot judge based on our own side. So we have to do evidence. That's why the process of cultural mapping or inventory analysis is to evidence, yeah, from many sides, not only one side. Understand, yes, sir? Am I explain clear, Dr. Ruli? Because
Yeah,
I think doing a site inventory, we cannot just from our own perspective, because we are not the local that who stay at the town. And as I said just now, the pandemic could be have this happen that caused the problem maybe in the short time. So anyhow, we have to relate to what is the government action that taken in this during this period.
yeah, I think I think Yasa said okay. Thank you, Miss Lee.
All right.
Yes, I'm agree with you. When we're doing the cultural mapping, it should be engage the local people there because they really knows well their environment
Yes,
compared.
yes. What happened? Yeah. Mm-mm.
Yeah, just sharing you my experience at the time in
Yes.
2013, Sensei, that I was invited by Professor Aidit coming to UTM, and we did the colloquium at the time with the Gajah Mada University students. All of us was going to the Ipoh, if I'm not
Ipoh.
mistaken, in Ipoh.
Yeah. Ipoh Perak. Mm-mm.
Ipoh Perak from Johor going to the Ipoh, and then we did the cultural mapping in the Chinatown. It's really quite a good experience because we should come to the field site and then come back again and then try to discuss, and then in the another day we should talk with the community and then try to make the
Community.
confirmations, and then
Yeah.
some that I can learn is the hidden from the visual science that comes with the explanation of intangible information coming to this process.
Yeah. I think the process that Dr. Rudy gone through is just affirmation of information. So that's why I say we cannot bias. Sometimes we see maybe it's not right. That's why we still need to get a confirmation. That is why we need to engage with the community, right? Mm.
It is yeah, it's interesting. Okay, another questions coming from Diva Sarah Radia. Diva, would you like to speak by yourself or we read it for you, Diva?
Sure, I can read it.
Okay, have a please.
Okay, hello, Dr. Lee. I'm Sarah from
Hello.
Universitas Basmara. So, as a
Hello.
result of my discussion with my peers, we actually have a curiosity about the topic today. Like, how do we identify the identity of a place which the culture has started to vanish or even vanished? Since the next generations don't really help in preserving the culture, so we can say that we have no definite source that can support the native story about their culture. For example, if we talk about Lasem, they already have a strong culture that can be developed. But what about the other places which don't have a strong culture? Thank you. That's my question.
Okay. Wow, I think you have good questions here. All right. So your site is not Lasem, yeah? Your study area right now. I mean your project. Sarah?
Yes.
Okay, can I
Actually,
get
I talk about the project. Actually, our project is about Lasem, but we just ask
uh-huh.
about what if about the other places that don't have a strong culture, for example.
Okay. I give you an example with not so strong culture site. Okay. First of all, to look at the site inventory analysis is I will come out with the site issue first. There is two ways to do a site inventory. Some of it they will list a lot of things. Okay, I have to look at the history, tangible, intangible, a checklist. For me, not necessary that what you list is relevant. My method to start with site inventory is to look at the issues. Okay, let's say that you mentioned just now, a place or the town, we have no cultural issues or don't have this problem. We don't look at that as issues, right? We can look at whether they have others potential. Let's say environmental aspects, economic aspects. So this is what we're going to direct ourselves to that what to do the next. Okay, can you understand me?
Yes.
Not all the town facing the same issues like cultural issues. Some towns, especially in the modern, not say modern, the town like in the city center, uh, we cannot see the reach of the cultures, but maybe they have some hidden of the cultures like Dr. Rudy mentioned just now. The hidden cultures may be inherited from the past, yeah, we cannot see. But if the town themselves, they have the old characters of the building, it shows that this town is related as an old town, yeah, how it's transformed. So what I see now, when we talk about culture itself, beside looking at the aspect, what is about the old and the past, religious or custom, that is one part. Another, like right now, we look at is more on the creative activities. If you notice, which means that how you want to revitalize or turn over the existing cultures. The cultures doesn't mean everything is old, yeah. Is how the local people, their way of life is also part of culture. How you turn it integrate with more creative industry. This is the current trends. So you have to put yourself that don't judge in the early stage, but we look at what the site have, their potential or constraint first. That I call it as the issues. Can you understand me? Mm.
Yes. Thank you.
Or I need to give another example. Some of the
Yeah,
town they
okay,
facing
please.
like pollution. Let's say some of the city or town, let's say they have issues on river pollutions. So if that the city characteristic of the town, they much depend on the river, on the pollution or what happens. So we have to look at the issues first. Yeah, but doesn't mean that we start with the culture. Culture will later, because I believe we as design in the built environment, we talk about our design to people, yeah, not only to the place. We are designing for people. People are the users, yeah. So what I want to give you example here is start with to look at what are the current issues that face on to that town, and then the next you will look at the detail, what are the aspects that can relate to your site inventory analysis. Are you clear, Sarah?
Yes, Dr. Lee.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you are not clear, you don't hesitate to ask. As I said, don't
Actually, if
yeah.
if I may ask, have you ever conducted a research about a city that doesn't really have a culture?
As I say here, we don't put culture is a big topic. For me, cultural here is related to human activities. Don't see it as an old culture. I'm looking also as a new culture. Like I give you example here. Yes, we did a project like in Johor Bahru, in Malaysia, Johor Bahru downtown. It is a modern city, right? Maybe it happened like in Jakarta, right? We don't look at it compared to like in Solo, they have a more traditional old culture compared in the city center. Yes. So we look at culture is the activities. It's not like custom or belief. Hmm. Can you get me or not?
Oh yes,
Sarah?
yes, I already got it. That
Ah,
this culture here means like more like human activities, not only about the art, right?
yes, yes. That's why just now
Yeah,
I show
okay.
you the diagram. The cultural is come from worldwide. If your site is modern area with develop a new city, uh, you look at the culture. What are the current cultures that happen at the town? The trend. Let's say I see like in Malaysia, sometimes they have trends like they have a lot of coffee shops because they want people to be at the area, one new area. That is how to attract people to be at this place. So you have to look at what are the activities that happen that we call it a culture. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So it can
cultural
be,
can be old and new. Yeah.
yeah,
That is
old and
interesting to look at. Yeah, old and new.
yes.
Okay,
Thank
Sarah.
you. Hope
Okay. Thank you, Dr.
information.
Lee, for the new insights. It really helps us
Yeah,
to understand more about the culture.
all right. You're welcome.
Thank you. So, well, in this events, we also have another participants coming from Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta. So, for student of UMS, have a place to also giving questions going to Dr. Lee. And next question is coming from Anda Lucia. Ibu Anda Lucia is a PhD student here. And Ibu Anda, would you like to speak? Would you like to speak by yourself, or we can read for you?
Please read from me.
Okay, thank you, Ibu.
I'm from University Sumatera Utara.
Okay, nice. Welcome to this event, Ibu.
From where, Dr. Ruli? From which
From
university?
Universitas Sumatera Utara.
Oh, Sumatra. All right.
It's the
Okay.
Sumatra Islands. Yeah. And
All right.
Ibu Anna Lucia asking, can I make a research finding the spirit of place like this cultural mapping? But my research is only in contextual building, in from the iconic or identity city or kind of historic building. What do you think about this, Dr. Lee?
Okay. Thank you for these questions, Ibu Andadulusia. Okay. What is the stage right now? Your studies? Your PhD studies
I'm
is still early stage.
early, my dissertation.
Yeah. In what stage? In the literature review stage, or in the you already have collect your data?
Not
It
yet.
is still early stage, not yet. So which means early stage, right?
Yes.
Okay. I will give you overview of the pictures. I use the same method for the design as well. Okay. You are talking about spirit of place here. First of all, yes, you can use that in culture mapping, but when you talk about your research only in the contextuals of iconic city or building, okay, look at the spirit of place indicators. The spirit of place doesn't come from just one component. Am I right? It's not come from just a setting, a people. A physical. It should come of people activities as well. Yeah, the meaning of the place. That's why don't how to say don't you have to look at a bigger more worldwide to understand more in depth what is a spirit of place? As I said just now, look at what are the components that form spirit of place. I call this component as an indicator. If you found that in this indicator, then you know that the parameter what to investigate in the research. Yeah, you can call it aspect or parameter or variables. So when you talk about your study is only focus on the building or the city itself, this is all about physical. You only understand one part of the spirit of place. So you have to bring yourself how the spirit of place from this physical of city itself, the setting, the building, that correlation with other aspect. I believe spirit of place also related to the meaning of place, which means behavioral, people understanding, people attachment, yeah, people memory. Am I right?
Yes,
Am
yes,
I?
you're right,
Yeah.
Dr. Lee. Yes.
That we call it as a correlation. The same method we use for the studio. That's why please make clear with the indicator first. Yeah.
Okay.
Am I answer your questions, Ibu?
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Lee.
All right, you're welcome.
Yeah, well, if I can suggest also for Ibu Andalusia, so actually this method is kindly a basic method, and we can do this for the future deep research, particularly also in the dissertation process. And the important thing is about the synthesis, yeah, Dr. Lee.
Yes.
In the dissertation part, it must be more complex, and then
Yeah.
should is also different from the method, which one you
Yes.
use, the naturalistic or positivistic.
Yeah, the analysis part, Dr. Ruli, like just now what I think the next what though you can find through as simple as cultural mapping, when come to the PhD or master studies, you have to look at the correlation the analysis. Yeah.
Correlation
That's why
analysis.
you maybe from this part you have to do another analysis maybe on using statistic or what other software. Yeah.
Yes, so that's why that make difference between the undergraduate student, master,
Yes,
and
yes,
also the doctoral studies.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. You're
Also,
right.
here's welcome Bapak Zuhaidi from Bandung. If you would like to
Oh,
question something from Bandung,
Oh,
have a please.
thank you. No, no, no. I just want to hear and listen the
Okay.
presentation.
Okay, welcome
Thank
Bapak
you.
Studi from
Yes, yes,
Bandung in our forum. Yes,
yes. Thank you.
thank you. Yeah. Okay. Another student would like to question something going to Dr. Lee. Have a please, because well, as a basic methods, the cultural mapping is kind of very important things to get for to have a deep digging the data informations. Any question, or maybe I can ask, I can deliver it's going to the lectures. Ibu Maya, do you have something? Bu Anita, Bu Tiwi?
Sorry, Bu Ruli.
Yeah, Bu Maya. Have a please, Bu Maya.
I'm no, no, no. I'm listening, and I'm writing many things from Dr. Lee's
Explanation.
lecture. So
Yeah.
I have no idea to ask anything yet. Sorry.
Okay, keep writing, Bu Maya.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Your
yeah, you're
lecture
welcome.
will really help us, and especially our students, to do such research
Yeah,
and mapping, cultural mapping activities. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay,
you're
Doctor, if
welcome.
while we are waiting for another's, okay, from FTSP 30.
Oh,
Ya, this is Mas Punto. Dr. Lee, please just read these questions. Yeah. The
Yes, there is another new versions. Yeah, uh the example that I took from this in the lecture is from Janet Pillai, Dr. Janet Pillai's. Yes, she come out also with new versions of the books. But if you ask me how the evolution of this technique, what I see, the basic, the fundamental that in her books, she written that the cultural process she developed from the cultural capital also lies with the sustainable development, which means a sustainable community, sorry. So which means the three pillars of social, economic, and environmental is related to correlated to this cultural mapping study. So what I read also in her new books, uh, her giving in the books, the example is more vibrant, not only on the historical town like Georgetown or city. The example like in tourism aspect, as well as revitalization of the building. Also, they use this method. Yeah, and I see just now like revitalize of back lane. Mm. So I can see that the changes is just like how this cultural mapping method don't just put it on historical town or city itself, but you can use more to others the engagement with the communities. Like if you plan to do a revitalizations, so the engagement you can start with the communities discussions, because the feedback from the communities is important to map in from the feedback. They are the important to support because they are the patron, yeah, of a place, one of the stakeholders. So from this process, it will help that we know that what the output that they expect from the communities. So this is another way that I look at the varieties of Janet Pillai's when she developed this idea of cultural mapping. Yeah, more variety perspective, not only the on historical town itself.
Okay, that's I think we can track the transformation of the Janet Pillai. I think it's a key
Yeah.
book, yeah, for among us that are familiar that Janet Pillai writing
Yeah.
a book about cultural mapping.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
one
So yeah, I
question.
think good. Let's try to do a mapping at Lawson.
Yeah, we should.
I'm looking forward to see
By
what to
this,
map.
by this
Yeah.
the end of this years, I think we try to make one event about the Lasem Heritage School that's also organized by Dr. Punto from
Oh,
Trisakti,
Dr. Okay,
and
okay, great.
some partners, and we would like also to invite Dr. Lee to do this. And another
All right, thank you.
question is coming from Pak Suhdi Alam. Have a please, Pak Suhdi.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to ask Dr. Lee. Uh, I'm wondering what is your opinion or share, maybe you can share your experience about uh, when we talk about place identity or community identity, it's also has a political social dimension, and how cultural mapping can address this social political condition. I mean, we, we know that Indonesia as well as Malaysia is a multicultural society. When maybe there is a contested identity on a place. I mean, however, it's a political process, right? And what is your opinion or critique maybe on cultural mapping or the process? Thank you.
Okay. Uh, Pak Su, may I ask that your questions? I think it's a good question, but if I want to answer on the political sensitive, I'm not sure whether I'm the right to answer for this platform. May I know that when you mentions the political the political aspect that happen in the multicultural society, that does this means that the control by the government or how?
Maybe between government and local government and central government, or
Mm.
between communities. or you, many parties, I guess, and I,
Oh, okay, okay.
or
Mm.
yeah,
Okay, I
on
think
what
I
level
can.
of on what level of on what level of communities or political spectrum that cultural mapping is the best to address the issue. I mean, you have said
Okay.
before that it is applicable in municipal or city area,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, but it's a small scale, not big scale. Like just now the first question asked by Dr. Ruli. We don't put this cultural mapping in bigger scale like a district area or too large or big city. A town, yes, the best because cultural mapping is more macro scale, very detailed. If you look at what we need to put the information, yeah. If I try to answer your question, yeah, Pak Zu, um, basically when we do any of the studies, for me myself, I don't I will exclude the political aspect in the discussion, yeah. Although we know that, like what you say, I agree. Sometimes in different level, in term of society, in term of municipal level, or maybe in the state level, they have their own political matters. So when we engage with the community, normally we exclude this
Uh,
aspect of sensitive topic. So what we look at in the positive way, we as a we as an academician, or we as a architect, or we as a urban designer, we try to put the perspective of the value what we obtain from the cultural mapping, because cultural mapping itself is an engagement where community they can speak with us as an urban planner or architect. We have a very close intact communication with them, because when we conduct a cultural mapping, we can see like face to face, yeah, so they can the local people they can respond to us, so we become like a middle person, yeah, so we can get the response from the community, and then we can present it to the local municipal council, uh, yeah, so they know that the feedback, so this is for me, I look it as a positive way. So when we communicate, we try not to include the political matter. Although sometimes I believe the community they will still complain on the government, this not good, that not. But we try to exclude, but we take it at a positive. We look at more getting something positive, bring better good livelihood, or no, bring better like the living how to say, the living qualities in the cities or the town to the community. So give them the impressions, what is our role, yeah, to look at this process. So this is, I think, I answer for this. Uh, not to answer more in detail on the political part. I try to answer is our role to make it generous and clear. So how important. I know that this happened also in Malaysia. Sometimes the local people they will complain that government not doing this and that, but we give them something, as I say, we become a middle person. We communicate between uh the governments and also side, and also with the community level. Yeah.
Oh,
Y-
thank you, Mr. Dr. Lee. If I
No
can
problem.
conclude your explanation, maybe you do the grassroots movement, like I mean, you hear from uh,
Community.
people,
Yeah.
community from the
Yeah.
smallest milieu of
Yeah.
society, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Have
Yes.
you ever encountered uh, a clash between society, or maybe the result of your analyze mapping is not what we call it doesn't suit with government plan.
Mhm. Yeah, sometimes when we do when we come up with the finding, because we are in this profession, yeah, we will look at from the finding, we will look at in different aspects, yeah, when come to the design and think about the communities, their quality of life and so on. For sure, this is some how to say pro and cons. The answer will be different. What we trying to solve here is like we will get the best solution to look at what we can do it. So when community will ask that, okay, they require this and that for to, let's say, to revitalize the street, to how to improve the street. So when we talk in the government level, sometimes they won't do it everything in one times. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to do. I'm going to make over this place all in one time. No. So we try to tell the community we do it by face, facing like, okay, maybe we start with this and continue by this. So from there, I think the community they will feel more like they give us trust, and then they will feel more confident. Our like our collaborative in between the stakeholders, which include the government as well. Yeah. So we have to start to build this on the trust. Pak Zul.
Okay.
I
Thank you.
believe you have the same. Yeah. Because sometimes we see government should do this, but sometimes we have to follow the government rules as well. So as I said, we are in the middle, so we try the best to sort it to get the best way to dealing with this the best suggestion or solution for the community. Yeah. As I say, the facing plan idea is the best. So we just inform the community. We do it one by one stage, not to everything or make over in one time. So I don't think the government can able to do so in the short time, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, most of government
Cannot.
doesn't
Yeah.
do give everything at once. Thank you
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
your explanation
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sharing
Yeah.
your experience.
Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you for your questions too.
Thank you, Pak Zudi, from ITB, Bandung.
Oh,
Okay.
right.
There's questions I would like to give to the student of Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta. Are you guys here? Would you like to give the questions for the student of UMS? Okay, have a please. But if it is we don't have any questions, yeah, we can going to the end of these sessions, yeah, because on 10 we should finish this studio. Oh, Rizi, Rizi, is it from UMS? Are you from UMS? No, Rizi Ilham Maulana. Okay, looks nice. Okay, so yeah, we are going to the end of the session. Thank you very much, Dr. Lee. But before I end up this class or sessions, as the title of the event, Roles of Cultural Mapping for a Place Identity Revitalizations. Therefore, the cultural mapping can be used as a method to digging more detailed information on the field site. But even though like that, culture mapping is not just only for the heritage area. We can use it also in the ordinary area that's also related with the local wisdom, or then in the program of citizen urbanism that coming from the community itself, the culture mapping can be used as a powerful method. Why I say the powerful method, Dr. Lee, because it is engage their own idea, the community idea, and the facilitator. The facilitator can come from the academician, also come from the government or the NGO community who really have interest or going concerns to the environmental issue. So really hope step by step of the cultural mapping can be used for everybody here who join this participant, not only for the undergraduate student, but also Ibu Andalusia as a preliminary site inventory steps can be used and powerful. And then for others actors that can be used to give the recommendation going to the government also. It is very useful to use this method. And then, yeah, Dr. Lee, there's a question also from the participant. Is it possible for us to get your PPT for this
Yes,
session?
yes.
Could you sharing? Yes.
So
Okay, sure.
now or later, so I will share with you, Dr. Rudy.
Have a please to also share in this chat if you don't
Oh,
mind.
okay.
So then the
Yes,
participant
give me a
can
second, so I will share.
sure.
So, Dr. Rudy, I think one point that I want to add just now, I think because of from the questions from the audience, I think wait, yeah.
Yeah, have a please finish first for the uploading the
Okay, let me send the file first. Yeah,
yeah.
thank you. Please
So
one sec.
yeah, and all the participants can download the material from the Dr. Lee. And if you are asking us about the recording of this event, all you guys can go to the first YouTube channel of Fakultas Teknik UNS. There are also a lot of lectures coming from Dr. Lee from the last semesters. Then you can follow up
Oh,
what
okay.
happens there
So I will add the file here. All right.
for the
Give me a
documentation.
second.
Yes, have a place, Dr. Lee. If it is very difficult to uploading now in the chatting box, we can share later. Through.
Okay. This because just now I just try to save the file.
Okay. I would like to remind also going to the student of ONS have a place to going to the OCW. Uh, don't forget to absent on OCW. And before we end, yeah, we try to waiting for Dr. Lee.
Yeah. The file.
Finished? Not yet?
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, it's uploading. Okay. Just so I want to add point the last. I think from the Pak Punto he's mentioned just now, the changes from the first edition of Cultural Mapping book by Janet Pillal. What I see that's we talk about the method like what we see on the urban changes, right? I believe the changes the our urban development will keep changing, yeah. So when we look at the even method, when we look at the cultural mapping method, maybe what we see current right now in the scope of more macro scale, I believe maybe in one day we can expand more to refine the cultural mapping method, which means we can do it more better and better, yeah, from time to time. So I believe they will be changed. We don't put it at one specific, okay, cultural mapping only limit for this, but I believe it can be it can be evolutions that the expanding of the scope itself, yeah, in future, yeah. I think that's all from me. So I attach here the PDF so can share with all the audience. Thank you for your time and thank you for the questions. I believe this discussion, I do hope that it will can help you. If you have any question to ask related to cultural mapping methods or to on all the analysis related to site inventories, you can email to me. So I share this is my email address here in the chat box. Yeah, I think that's all from me, Dr. Rudy.
Thank you very much. And before we close, have a please to open the webcam each of the participant here. I would like to make the documentations for all of us. So yes, it is a family pictures. Yeah, Papunto, you have a nice headband. I think you just cut off your hair ya with the Korean style. Buat adik-adik silakan dibuka webcam opennya. Saya mencoba untuk mendokumentasikan karena ya kewajiban dari bagian family pictures ya in every sessions. Oke, dibuka ya adik-adik. 1, 2, 3, kita ada 4 layar, jadi bertahap. Happy to see you here, Pak Punto dari Bu Tiwi.
Halo Bu Tiwi.
Oke, terima kasih. Saya coba untuk slideshow ini ya, dokumen satu-satu. Masih di yang pertama, Bu Maya juga, halo Pak Punto. Gitu.
Halo Bu Maya.
Wah, cukup terkenal ya Pak Punto di UNS. Siap. 1, 2, 3. Oke, another Laya, Jessica, apa kabar? Sehat ya? 1, 2, 3, sebentar. Oke, layar kedua. Sebentar, ya masih menunggu teman-teman yang membuka layar dan membenarkan rambutnya. Oke, ketiga ya. Oke, terakhir. Ya Saramada kemana nih? Oke, satu lagi. Oke. Tepatlah waktu jam 9.57 kita akhiri kegiatan hari ini. Terima kasih sekali. Thank you very much, Dr. Lee and all the participants that coming from outside of UNS. Thank you very much for attending these events, and we will see again in the next series of lectures. Thank you, Dr. Lee. We'll see you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you,
Have
Dr.
a good
Lee.
day, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Dr. Lee.
Maya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Maya.
Yeah, thank you.
Kumanda. Ibu-ibu lainnya.
Dan
Students. Bapak-bapak juga.